Good afternoon, guys. It's Working, bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar 4-hour chart on Coinbase. And last time we spoke, guys, Bitcoin was just breaking up here. Told you to look for support, or excuse me, resistance at about that $10,650 zone, guys. We did find massive resistance right at that zone, actually, guys. And as I pointed out yesterday, I'm finding it interesting that all of a sudden people are just now starting to point this out as well. But as I pointed out yesterday, guys, we were seeing some potential, which is now confirmed, hidden bearish divergence on, on price here. We could see that price created, obviously it's being a downtrend, price created a lower high. Looking at the histogram here, histogram created a higher high, same thing on the RSI, guys. And so that was suggesting, at the very least, this is why we were calling for potential major resistance right here at this $10,650 zone, if not a break back down. This is why I told you I may consider shorting this area, breaking back down to this $9,950 zone. Now, we don't have to come all the way down here. We came down to about $10,100, so about $100, $150 off the bottom there. That would, though, in my book, go ahead and play out this divergence. Could it come down lower? Absolutely, but this also could play out. So I would say this divergence is no longer really relative. Now, again, that does not mean we can't come back down here and drop further. We absolutely can. I would just say that as far as this hidden bearish divergence is concerned, it may have played out. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of weight on that now. I just find it funny that all of a sudden analysts now, I'm hearing, are starting to repeat this, 10 hours after we called it out yesterday. But nonetheless, we'll just leave it there. So where do we go from here? We are kind of in a very much a neutral zone, guys, here, and I know that's a little bit frustrating to hear. What I would like to see is I would like to see Bitcoin come back down and have a final test of this $9,950 zone, at least 10,000, and get a very, very nice bounce off of that zone. Now, we can see that we do have the potential, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, the same way I got a lot of flack for calling this a head and shoulders until it actually followed through, and then everyone jumped on board. Oh yeah, it's head and shoulders. We do have the potential for a possible head and shoulders, or an inverted head and shoulders pattern to play out here. Obviously, you can see the left shoulder there, head, and then of course potentially looking at the right shoulder. Now, I would like to see price actually come down here further, actually touch down here at that $10 range, $10,000 range, and then get a nice bounce and come right back up. We'll have to wait and see kind of how that ends up playing out. But that is not, again, that is not confirmed yet. There are some serious potential problems with that as of right now, guys. So I'm not calling that as of right now. Right now, volume could go either way, and certainly if we just bounced right off this zone, that would kind of invalidate that whole thing. So let's wait and see how this plays out again. But the same way I was telling you to kind of put it on your radar back here, put that on your radar here. Again, not played out yet. I'm not calling it. I didn't tell you. I'd work and did not say this was an inverted head and shoulders. I'm pointing out, again, the potential so you guys have kind of an idea of what we're looking at, or what I'm looking at anyway. Now, zooming out on the daily chart, guys, daily chart, I am seeing some people call this some people calling this, obviously, overall, this would be an uptrend here, right? This overall move from bottom to top. We are in a correction from an uptrend, but looking at the overall uptrend, it is still an uptrend, and I'm seeing some people call this point to this point, and then they reference, of course, this point to this point on price, say price created a higher low. Looking at the histogram is creating a lower low, and then also looking at the RSI also same point, creating, whoop, that's getting in the way, creating a lower low as well. So they're saying, that's going to be hidden bullish divergence, suggesting a break to the upside. And not so much on the histogram. I wouldn't say that, because we've got this, it's a little bit sloppy on the histogram. You could make a better case on the RSI there. However, I would just say, looking at the RSI there, guys, we very likely that has already played out when price spiked here and found resistance right there at that $10,650 zone. So I would say that potentially has already cleared. So I would not also be looking at that as your savior. We truly are in the middle of an epic battle, but I use that term epic battle between bulls and bears probably too much, but at this point, if it ever rang true, it rings true right now. We really, really are looking at an epic battle. If we come over here, as I pointed out yesterday, pardon me, Looking at our moving averages, exponential moving averages, this is on the 4-hour. We pointed out yesterday the potential for a death cross. Looking, and again, this is on the simple. So looking at the simple 50 moving average crossing below the 200 simple, that's called a traditional death cross. And of course, that was the bulls were unable to prevent that. That did end up taking place. However, I told you as I pointed out yesterday, there are some traders, and they do have a valid point, that put a lot more weight on the 50 exponential and the 200 exponential crossing as a death cross than they do the simple. And now this argument goes both ways, and I can see both sides of the argument. And as I said, right now we are so close to this right now that typically, and we're bouncing right off that 21 exponential, sitting between the 50 simple and the 21 exponential, guys, literally kind of in purgatory here, waiting for a major break in either direction here. So I told you yesterday that I really would like to see confirmation on not just the 50 simple and the 200 simple, a death cross on that, but also confirmation between the 50 and the 200 exponential crossing as a death cross crossing below. Now flipping over here, this is the 50 exponential and the 200 exponential. Again, was averted yesterday. They did not create the death cross yesterday. However, does look like we do have the potential of doing that today, unless we just get a massive bounce here in the next 8 hours or so. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this ends up playing out. As I said, we did have an official death cross, traditional death cross yesterday, and we may have that follow through with the death cross on the 50, with the 50 exponential cross below the 200 exponential. If that does happen, guys, again, as I pointed out yesterday, and as I'm sure many analysts are pointing out today, guys, if this does happen, that would suggest a drop down, obviously, to at least 10,000, guys, but very, very likely we're going to be looking at least a retesting of this $9,400 zone. If we retest that a second time, guys, with that death cross confirming, I do think we very likely break down, and then we're looking at a drop to at least $8,900, if not that $8,500 zone. And as I point out every single time, of course, as everybody and their brother is looking at, we do have a gap here. Looking at the CME chart, yes, we do have that gap between 8,500 and 8,870 on the CME chart, so everyone's wanting to see if this does get filled. And yes, as pointed out yesterday, traditionally this does get over, when everyone's looking at the same thing, we traditionally get a major overshoot, a major undershoot. You couldn't really say we had an undershoot as of yet, because we did come down and almost tapped the top of it here. So, you know, we'll see if that was bottom or if we do end up possibly coming back below here. But because everybody knows that, again, it kind of, we're kind of playing psychological games here, because on the one hand, yes, everybody's looking at 8,500, everyone's looking for a bounce there at 8,500 for that gap, but because everybody's looking for the bounce, everyone's saying it's not going to happen, it's going to get overshot or undershot. So, you know, which psychological warfare is going to hold the most weight? You know, who's looking at the most thing? If everybody's looking for a bounce here, then yeah, maybe we won't. But if everybody's not looking for a bounce here because they think everybody's looking for, so you can see how this psychological warfare could play through. So I mean, the bottom line is this is an extremely relevant zone, and I will be looking to add to my long position if we come down here. And yes, it's possible we overshoot that because everybody's looking at it. It's also possible we get a massive bounce right here because nobody thinks we're going to bounce here, because everybody thinks we're going to bounce here, or everybody thinks that everybody thinks we're going to bounce here. You follow the logic here? I know I'm probably confusing the heck out of you guys. I don't mean to double talk here, but you can just see the layers and layers of psychological warfare that comes along with trading a move like this, especially when you've got major areas of interest that everybody's looking at. All right, so getting out of the theoretical, getting back to what we know is happening. We know we had a death cross on the simple 50 exponential, 200 exponential. We know it looks like we've got the potential death cross on our 50 exponential crossing below our 200 exponential. We know that would be a very bearish sign if that does happen, and we know probability would shift in favor of at least, the very least, of course, testing this $9,950 zone. But again, if we get that confirmed death cross on the 50 and 200 exponential, 50 crossing below the 200 exponential, I'm going to be looking for a target of at least 9,400 down here. Again, at the bare minimum, more likely this $8,900 zone down here, if not 8,500. And yes, I will be looking for a scalp. Even if we do get that, I would be looking for a bounce off of 9,400. I would be looking for a bounce off of 8,900, somewhere between, actually, we're going to have a pocket right here between 8,900 and 8,500 that could literally bounce anywhere on top of or in between that zone. Again, that's where that gap lies, that CME gap lies, and that does denote many, many buy orders. In other words, a demand zone sitting down here. So that would that would suggest we could get a bounce anywhere between those. So I'm not going to be, I will be very comfortable if we get a decisive break below 9,400, 4-hour open and close below 9,400. I'm very comfortable calling a drop down here to 8,900. However, if we get a decisive break below 8,900 and open and close, I'm not going to be comfortable just saying we're going to immediately drop to 8,500 because I think we literally could bounce anywhere between 8,900 and 8,500 if that makes sense. Something else I'd point out, guys, and again, I don't put a whole lot of weight into this, but you could technically make an argument that this is a massive falling wedge, and I'm only pointing this out because again, price we kind of broke out of it here. It's not, I don't love this at all. The only way this actually plays out is if we actually end up almost dropping straight down here on the daily, maybe dropping down, finding support around 10,000 ish, back up, the next day bouncing again right there, and then just kind of, we'd have to have a fairly quick drop here. So I will just say, in the next few days, if we do end up getting that, just quick acknowledgement at 10,000, right back up, create lower high again, breaking 10,000, maybe bouncing off this 4,000 again, bouncing up, lower high, continue down to that 80. If that's the pattern that we follow over the next couple days, then I'm going to start looking at this as a falling wedge, and coincidentally or not so coincidentally, as we like to say, that falling wedge would break out somewhere. It would very likely have the potential of breaking out somewhere between 8,900 and 8,500, which again just happens to be down at that gap. Now again, I am not. This is just something. I only point these different scenarios out so you kind of get an idea of what I'm looking at. This could be invalidated today. If we were to break up here, above 11,000, of course that would get invalidated. If we just start consolidating sideways here for a day or two, that would completely get invalidated. So again, I'm not. Please don't come out here and start saying Workin said we're in a falling wedge. Not saying that. Workin said we're in an inverted head and shoulders. Not saying that. I'm just pointing out the different possibilities that could play out here over the few days, so if a certain pattern does develop, we do have the makings of a couple potential patterns, one bullish, one bearish, one neutral. So if you see over the next couple days, as the price pattern does develop, you kind of getting an idea, okay, and maybe we're shifting into this, and hopefully that makes sense. Again, I know for you veteran traders, some of this might get a little bit tedious, but I know I've got people from all different levels watching this channel, guys, and I want to make sure that I'm not just giving you ideas of what I'm thinking, but also how I'm thinking it, how I'm coming to the conclusions that I'm coming to. All right, looking back at our moving averages, exponential moving averages, we can see that we're finding support at the 50 simple, resistance at the 200 exponential. And this is on the daily chart again. So this is a very bearish sign, not very bearish sign, but this is a bearish sign. We were unable to break back above the 200 exponential here, trying the second day in a row, we're trying to break it, still unable to do it. That being said, we are above the 50 simple as of right now. That did act as support. So, I'm not too bearish yet. Again, we're kind of in purgatory here, waiting for a winner between bulls and bear, between bulls or bears, I should say. If we can get back above, even if we get a daily close above the 21 exponential, that would be significant. I do believe that would be significant. Now, to be fair, we would need an open and close above that 21 exponential to officially officially call that bottom, and officially for me to get bullish and start picking targets, much further to the upside, 12, 12.5, 12.9, possibly coming up and testing, taking out our prior high here. We'll have to wait and see. So we do have to see if we can get above at least the 21 exponential. But as I said, if we can get at least a daily closing above this 21 daily EMA, I will be, short term at least, I would be bullish. I would be bullish in the short term. Let's go ahead and check the weekly here. Weekly, as I said yesterday, weekly is the best thing the bulls have going for it. Still bullish, guys. We are defending once again this 8-week EMA. The bulls have just defended it the entire way here, guys, and once again we are defending the 8-week EMA again. We wicked below it, sure, but we have not closed below it. As long as the weekly does close above this 8-week EMA, I will be long-term bullish, and I would, even if we close below it, I would still be long-term bullish. I just mean, I guess, more medium-term bullish. So yeah, but if we do close below this 8-week EMA, which would put us down below about 9,800 as of right now, if we close below that 9,800, again, I would be looking for lower prices, obviously. So let's wait and see how this plays out. But as of right now, I've just been extremely impressed how well the bulls have defended that 8-week EMA. Now, coming out and looking at the monthly doesn't look quite so bullish as of right now. But remember, we're only about halfway through the month, a little more than halfway through the month. We do still have, 33% of the month left, and a lot can happen in the next 10 days, 10, 11, 12 days before we get this candle closing. So let's wait and see how it plays out. As of right now, again, does look like potential reversal, does look like a little tweezer top here, which would suggest a breaking back down to at least this $8,500 zone. Again, as I pointed out yesterday, showing why 8,500 is such a relevant zone. That was the last swing high in the bear market before we just completely broke all the way down. That was also the first major area of resistance on its way back up on the monthly here, and where resistance switched over into support, just confirming that continuation to the upside here, guys. So that 8,500 is very, very, very relevant zone. Let's wait and see how it ends up playing out. As of right now, again, getting a rather bearish candle, kind of a bearish spinning top here, tweezer top here, does suggest a breakdown. But again, we have not closed. So I would say on the monthly, if we can close anywhere above 10,000 on this monthly, anywhere above 10,900 would be a bullish sign of continuation to the upside. We'll have to wait and see kind of how this ends up playing out. Coming back to the 4-hour, guys, 4-hour, we are starting to see some serious consolidation where we're seeing the 8 EMA, the 8, 21, and 55-day EMA all starting to converge here, also converging with the 50 simple here. Anytime you see this happening, as I've told you numerous times in the past, as we discussed, where it happened right here, where it happened right here, where we had a major break to the upside, happened right here, major break to the downside, it's starting to happen here. And anytime you see this, it tells you that price looks like it's getting ready to make a potential larger move. Now, typically it'll consolidate a little bit longer, maybe about another 24 hours or so, maybe 12 to 24 hours or so. We're going to start to see the Bollinger Bands start to constrict, start to bottleneck, like we saw here, like we saw back here. Once you see those Bollinger Bands bottlenecking, the 8, 21, and 55 all converging, as well as the 50 simple, you know that a larger move is very, very likely getting ready to come. Now, it doesn't tell you what direction, but it does suggest a major, major breakout on the brink of happening. All right, so how am I playing this, guys? Obviously, as I said, we were looking for a resistance here. This pullback was no surprise. If you watched my video yesterday, guys, we were expecting a pullback possibly as low as this $10,000, $9,950 zone. Doesn't mean it has to get all the way down there. We've already come down to about 10,100. So I would consider that hidden bearish divergence potentially cleared. So let's wait and see kind of how this ends up playing out. If we end up dropping down here lower, long as we stay above 9,950, even if we start consolidating somewhere between 9,950 and 10,150, kind of consolidating there. And then if that does happen, let's wait and see how that kind of plays out. But if that does happen, I would be looking for if we bounce on top of there a couple times, I would be looking on that second, third bounce for another move back up to this $10,650 zone. If that does happen, if we do play that way, then I'm going to, as I said, start looking at this as a potential inverted head and shoulders, and I'm going to start picking targets. Excuse me. I'm going to start picking targets somewhere up here in about 11,500-ish. Somewhere thereabouts. In fact, that would be a measured move of about, let's just see. Actually, that'd take us right up to about 12,000. So I'd start looking for a target of about 12,000 or so. And yeah, I would say if we did break above 12,000, guys, of course I'd be looking for a move up to 12,400. But really, in my opinion, coming back out here to the daily chart, in my opinion, we would have to have a open and close. I would even accept a 4-hour open and close above 12,400 before I'll start looking at potentially taking out 12,950-ish, somewhere thereabouts, guys. Maybe taking out this potential last swing high, if not looking at the swing high at 13,850, but we would have to take out 12,950 before I would start looking at 13,800 and 13,850. Now, obviously, we would have to take that out. But if we did have a 4-hour open and close above 12,950, then I'd start picking targets at 13,850, and very likely in my opinion, we'd very likely take it out at that time. But of course, we got a whole. I mean, that's just right now. That's just crystal ball stuff. I mean, at this point, we need to wait and see how price reacts at these many very relevant price points along the way here. But I will say that my sentiment, if we can get a 4-hour open and close above 11,000. 9,050, my sentiment will, without question, start to shift in favor of the bulls. Now, to the downside, if we get an open and close below 9,950, of course, I'm going to be looking for a drop to 9,400. That's going to be obvious, but it's 9,400 that has to break down. By breakdown, I mean a 4-hour open and close below 9,400 before I'm going to start looking at least a drop to 9,800. But then we get into that zone between 9,800 and 9,000, or excuse me, between 8,900, that 8,900 and 8,500. That's the zone where I do think we could bounce at any point in time in between that zone there. So we'd have to watch. This is where I would stack buy orders between 8.9 and 8.5. This is where I will stack buy orders between 8.9 and 8.5. Now, does it mean that we can't break down below there? No, we absolutely could. As we talked about earlier, if everyone's looking at this, yes, sometimes it overshoots, sometimes it undershoots. But again, it gets into that whole psychology thing that I'm not going to ramble on about again. But nonetheless, this is a very, very relevant zone if 9,400 is broken down decisively. Now, I will offer up this in favor of the bulls here, and again, this is just kind of a nice-to-know thing. This is definitely not a, there's no question. Most people are painting their fib off of this swing low here. They're going swing low, swing high, and this is what they're kind of painting their fib off of here, guys. This is what they're looking at. This is where we had that 50 coinciding nicely with our $10,650 zone. This is where we had this $9,950 zone very, very nicely coinciding with the golden pocket here. It's been a very relevant zone without question, and there's no question that many algos are using that as a swing low to swing high. However, the caveat to that is the actual swing low, if I pull out here on the daily, the actual swing low that started this move up to 13,850 was this wick down here. This is what actually swung low, and then we just continued up from there. So the actual swing low is actually all the way down here. Why is that relevant? That's relevant. Well, you can see why that's relevant. If I actually pivot that swing low at about, what is that, 6,500, 6,600, that actually changes things a little bit in that we can see that the swing low of this latest move actually wicked right inside the golden pocket between the 618 and the 65 fib level, and the body literally almost to the dollar bouncing right off the golden ratio of 618. So, you know, could this be a bottom? Could this be a pivot bottom and we're continuing to the upside here? Yes, that could, you could certainly make that case. And there are algos that are trading off of this swing low. It's very, very obvious there are, based on this major pivot that we had right inside the golden pocket there. That wasn't a coincidence. So, this really is an epic struggle between bulls and bears. It really is an epic struggle between algos, and I think we're gonna find out in the next 24 to 48 hours which side is going to win. I just want to make sure you have all the information. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap Bitcoin there. Very quickly covering your comments, Brian Campbell says, please adjust your intro volume to match your speaking volume. Intro is too loud. Yeah, it sounded normal to me, but again, man, maybe I'm wrong. So if you guys are noticing the same, I noticed that somebody else did. If you guys are noticing the same, then yeah, please let me know. And if you guys, I don't have a major setup here, guys, at all. I'm not like some of these people that have 30, 40 thousand YouTube followers and are getting paid hundreds of dollars per episode. I mean, I literally make almost nothing, like $1 or $2 on these things, so I don't have this technical sound equipment, guys. So if you guys know how to actually adjust that volume within QuickTime there, let me know, because I'm honestly not sure how to do it, but it actually sounds equal to me. But again, let me know. Let's see, Todd Schultz says thank you. Hey, thank you, Todd, I appreciate you stopping by. Dropwiz says perfect, thank you Dropwiz. Grandiani says excellent video, you're the only person I take seriously concerning Bitcoin analysis and prediction. Keep us informed with another video if you can today, because it seems to be a very critical day. Thanks again for the great input. By the way, stop taking profits, sold my Bitcoin at 10,650 USD. When do you think would be a good buy-in point? I don't like to tell you when to buy. First of all, thank you very much for the support. I really do appreciate you being here and contributing to the channel. I don't like to give you buy-in points because I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I can only tell you what's good for me, and I think I've given you the points. I told you before that I'd be buying it at 9,400. I did do that. Added a little bit to my long position there. Sold a little bit of it on that bounce, but nonetheless, I will be looking to buy back in again down there between 8,500 and 8,900. Now, we may never get there. So again, maybe the best thing for you might be dollar cost averaging in. I don't know. I can only kind of tell you what's good for me and the things that I'm looking at, because I just can't give you financial advice. Anyway, I'll just leave it there. But thank you very, very much for stopping by. Let's see. Lynn says that's great. Thank you. You're welcome, Lynn. Thank you. Wayne Roberts says love your work working. Thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that. 880 says says 9,800 or 98, yeah, excuse me, yeah, 9,400 proved to be a good region to scoop up some more Bitcoin for the long haul. Thanks for your analysis. My pleasure, 880, and congrats. Let's see. Oh, this guy, this is just a, man, I swear, man, let me just remove that. Let's see. Wooski says, quick response. Okay. Lung Baron says, I'm waiting for a week and then we'll sell. I guess BTC pumps to 12K and then falls to 8.5K. It might. It might. We'll have to see. Phil the Thrill says, best thing you can do is grab your popcorn. Oh, quoting me. Best thing you can do is grab your popcorn and enjoy the show. That's it, man. Jay Singer says, thanks for your TA. Thank you, Jay. Let's see. Balls Deep says, great info. Always appreciate your input. Thank you, my friend. APL says, what can I add other than nothing? You're the best analyst out there I came across. Wow, thank you, man. Straight down to the point. I wouldn't consider you as best YouTuber. You're the best analyst and educator. Yes, what you do here is priceless. Only fools wouldn't take advantage of what you offer. Hey, thank you, man. Very, very much appreciated, man. I do appreciate the encouragement. Gert Mueller says, none saw this coming. Well, kind of did. Mr. Sylvie says, by the time I'm watching this right now, Brazil time, a new 4-hour candle is open and closed, as you mentioned. In other words, confirming a climb to cruise level, or so. So I guess we are in a bullish scenario. Yeah, no. Remember, as I said, guys, and I did answer you, Mr. Sylvia. Wait for that 11,050 before you get too bullish. Mr. Sylvia says again, isn't there another gap below 8,500 at 8,200, or excuse me, at 7,200? Yeah, as I discussed, Mr. Sylvia, you're talking about that gap. I used to be completely wrong on this. I had misread this in the past, but I'm glad to repeat it. You're talking about the gap back here at 7,200. Let me go to the 4-hour at 7,200. You're talking about this gap right here, and that was actually created on the 4-hour here, guys. It actually ended up being filled on the daily. I don't put a lot of weight in that gap. That was not created over a long weekend. That was literally created inside of a very quick 4-hour open and close. So no, I don't put a lot of weight on that gap. And again, as I put on the as we switch around to the daily, you can see that gap was in fact filled on the daily. So no, I don't put a whole lot of weight on that gap, and no, that doesn't necessarily have to get filled. Doesn't mean we're not going to come down here, but it just means I don't put a lot of weight on that gap. And to be clear, I'm talking about that gap at 7,200, not the gap at 8,500. I do put a lot of weight on the gap at 8,500. Bonsai says, totally reading divergence is wrong. This was an easy play, buying around 9,200. Okay. I'm not sure what divergences you're saying that I read wrong. Everything is literally played out perfectly. So again, not sure what you're talking about. If you'd like to clarify, I'm happy to give you more of a clarification. If you'd like to let me know exactly what you're talking about. Let's see. Hey, you says you and Crown are pretty much on the same page. Good sir analysis. Cool. Thanks, man. Scalp Logic says so super grateful for your videos. Thank you, sir. Let's see. Nikolai K says thank you, Nikolai. Let's see. Majdin Khan, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name again, certainly not disrespectful, says, do you think this parabolic rise is similar to the one that happened in 2017? From October to December of 2017, 3 months time scale, which seems pretty similar to the April to June 2019 time scale. Yeah, there are similarities there without question. And I'll just pull out here to the monthly so you can see. So you're talking about this 3-month time scale here and comparing it to this 3-month time scale between October, November, December. And yes, there are definitely similarities. They both went parabolic, both have kind of, as of right now, look like a nice tweezer top, potential reversal there for a correction. But the market is different. I mean, we were coming off of a 2-year bull run back here when this happened in 2017. Right now, we're just in the beginnings of a potential massive bull run. The start of a massive bull run that started back in January or December, depending on how you want to define it. So we've only been in it for about 7 months versus a 2-year bull run when it happened back here. Not to mention the completely different dynamics in notability, in volume, et cetera, et cetera. Now, again, doesn't mean that we can't be reversing course here and coming back down for a larger correction, but I don't think we're starting a major bear run like we had at the start of 2018, like we saw here. Again, doesn't mean there are some similarities. And yeah, the pattern is the same. And yes, we may end up coming back down and correcting here further, but I don't think we're at the start of a bull market. I don't think that this invalidates a potential longer bull market or it creates the start of a bear market. Could create the start of a larger correction, but I think it's very, very important to distinct between a correction and, of course, a major top and the start of another major downtrend that would take out the prior low. Two are very, very different things there. but very good question nonetheless. Let's see. Joe says, "Great, thank you, Joe." Joshua says, "Quick inquiry: do you take part in the Z?" Yeah, I don't know about the Zcash force. I mean, I know it's happening. I don't know how to take part in it. My assumption, I don't know if I don't think Binance is. You're asking if Binance is going to honor the fork. I really don't know. You can Google that and find out. But typically, a hard fork, best thing to do is hold it in a wallet that you hold that a wallet in which you own the private keys, which means off an exchange, and then hold the coin during the snapshot, and then you'll have instructions on how to claim the fork there. I really, honestly, I don't know though, Joshua. I apologize. Rabbi, I always pronounce your name, Rabbi Sadiq, and I really apologize for that. No disrespect. I'll figure it out someday. But your question is, many thanks for the tips, Captain. Do you think that Bitcoin EOS is going to keep going like this? I think it's acting really crazy. Any thoughts? Let's take a quick look. All right, pulling out here on the weekly. I mean, this chart looks terrible. This is EOS to Bitcoin at the weekly chart, guys, and yeah, this does. I mean, we've broken through both major areas of what should have been support. Bounced off them briefly, and then the second pass just collapsed through here. We are coming on some support now, a little bit of support. If this does break down, guys, this would suggest a drop down to about 24,200 Satoshi. If this does break down on the weekly here, let me just check. I mean, the RSI is oversold, but that doesn't really. Yeah, I mean that's not really telling me a whole lot at all, actually. Let me. Yeah, I mean we're not seeing. Yeah, let me look at the daily, see if I can give you any better news. Not really. Again, we are coming up on some potential support here if this can hold. But as I said, if this does break down, we are looking at a pretty substantial drop down. The daily suggests a drop down to about 22,000 Satoshi. I will say this. No, actually, shoot. I mean, yeah, we are. Actually, no, that's not true either. Yeah, there's just nothing. We are in the short term. We're showing actually a little bit of. If I zoom in here, well, that's not what I want. Let me get rid of that. If I zoom in here, we are showing a little bit of. If I go point to point, this point to this point clearly created obviously a lower low, a terribly lower low, and this is clearly in a downtrend. If I go point to point here on the histogram, this is on the daily chart, guys. Obviously created a higher low. That's actually hidden bearish divergence and would suggest a breakdown. Now it's a very, very slight. Very, very, very slight on the histogram there, not a lot of all. So I mean, this could just let me see where price is. I mean, yeah, this could just slam back down and wick below it, and then come right back up. Nothing, not really, or not getting a whole lot on the indicators there. I would say that we would need to see price break back up above about 42,300 Satoshi. If we got a daily open and close about 42,300 Satoshi, we would have a lot of room to run back up here to about 49,700 Satoshi. But that's a very, very big if, and right now is not threatening that. I will say if we get a daily open and close below about 36,900 Satoshi, it would suggest a fairly significant drop. I mean, you maybe a little bit of support at 30,700, but I mean, this really does suggest a drop down to potentially 22,000 Satoshi, and the weekly suggests 24,500 Satoshi. So a little bit of better suggestion on the weekly, but even not, either way, very, very bearish sign. But again, we have not yet broken support here. So could we be putting in a potential bottom here? Yeah, it could be. It could be. And we'll just have to kind of wait and see how it ends up playing out here. We are at a support level. So let's wait and see kind of how this plays out. But yeah, the chart just does not look great. And I don't say that with any amount of I take no pleasure in saying that, because I'm a long-term holder of EOS. I love the project, I really do. But the chart to Bitcoin right now looks terrible. All right, Johnny D says, I'm new to this, so don't mind the stupid question. You keep saying hidden bearish divergence, but are showing higher highs in the MACD and RSI. Wouldn't that be bullish divergence? Hopefully I've explained myself a little bit more here, Johnny D. No, it depends on if you're talking about, and again, you can research this a little bit more, but it depends on if you're talking about an uptrend or if you're talking about a downtrend. And I explained a little bit of this on the chart yesterday. So I explained it. This is the best example I can give is the same one I gave yesterday. And yes, we can see the histogram is different colors now. I switched up the colors a little bit because, hey, I like it better. But basically, if you're looking at a downtrend, then when you're looking for regular divergence in a downtrend, you're going to be looking at the bottom of, if you're looking at the histogram, you're looking at the bottom there. If you're looking at the RSI, you're looking at the bottom of the RSI. So in this case, for example, let's say we're looking at this point, from point to point, price created a lower low. You'd both agree, right? Now, if you look at the histogram, we look at the bottom of the histogram here, and the histogram created a higher low. So again, that's regular old divergence. In this case, that's hidden bullish divergence because, again, it created a higher low, regular divergence, and that would suggest a breakup, and we did get that breakup. However, sorry guys. However, looking at this same downtrend, if I just look at the next point to point here, this is what we talked about yesterday. Price created a higher, a lower high, but still on a downtrend here, but an overall downtrend, but a lower high. Now I'm still looking at a downtrend, but now I'm looking at the upper side of price, correct? But it created a lower high. So if I look at the upper side of the histogram, if I look for divergence and I see divergence on the upper side of the histogram like I do here, the histogram created a higher high. But because we're looking at an overall downtrend and I'm looking at the upper side of the histogram, that's called hidden divergence. And in this case, that would be hidden bearish divergence, suggesting a breakdown, which is what we saw here. Again, I know it's a little bit confusing, and I don't have time to create a whole video on it, and it would be the opposite if you were looking at an uptrend. So it would just, everything would be in reverse. So again, regular divergence in an uptrend, regular divergence would be looked for on the upside, hidden divergence would be looked for on a downside if we were looking at an uptrend. So again, I know it's confusing. I would just encourage you to go read a little bit more on it because I can't possibly explain everything in the video, but hopefully that does help, Johnny D. All right, John Anders says, you short a Bitcoin, are you crazy? I'm not sure what you're talking about. I was talking about shorting Bitcoin. I didn't actually do it. I probably should have because price did end up dropping down here, and I would have been, especially trading on leverage, I would have done fairly well. But I chickened out here because it does look like price was looking up here. But I should have. I should have followed through on that divergence as I talked about yesterday. And if anyone who did, congratulations. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote. If you have enjoyed this content, certainly would appreciate you to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell in the bottom corner of the tab. And of course, if you would like to support the channel, guys, you can always find the tip jar located in the description section of this video. Any tips are always appreciated, man. Till next time, guys, please trade safe. Take care of yourselves. This is Working, signing out.